This is a tour of the build for our final. We'll start by going to the server that was built out for the final. Now that we're on the server, we'll show you a list of the user accounts that were created. We have the production manager here. We have the sales manager here. Here's employee 1, employee 2, and the sales employee 3. Production manager, or production employee 1, production employee 2, and sales employee 1. Here is a list of the folders that we created for our different employees. There's a managers folder for production manager and sales manager. There's a production folder for just the production team, and a sales folder for just the sales team. With our SSH keys installed for our admin account, here, ProfX, we are able to set up SSH file sharing and open it up, and here is Professor X or ProfX's folder on the server. This kind of file sharing is very good for live, fluid file manipulation. It's a real-time folder, and it allows you to work on things, and changes are made immediately. It's a nice way to work. I have unmounted the SSH file share folder share on the desktop. As you can see here, it's empty, and went ahead and mounted the SFFTP file share, which goes to the same place. It just works a little differently. This is the technology we'll be using for the rest of our users. Inside of the server, we're running KVM, and with KVM we're running an open source project called Walk that allows us to control KVM. And here we can see the web user interface for Walk, and you see the host, what the host currently has available to work with. And if we go over to virtualization, we can see the desktops that we've built out for our users, and these would be our employees. We have 3 employee desktops, employee 1, 2, and 3, and then the 2 manager desktops down here, manager 1, manager 2. Manager 1 is currently busy doing a task for me. Now the way these were built was I built employee 1 first, and put in all the appropriate accounts, and also the privileges and access that these different accounts would be able, so they would be able to get to their resources on the server. And then once this one was built, I just did a clone and cloned it twice, getting employee 2 and employee 3. The same process was done for manager 1 and manager 2. Obviously I only had to do 1 clone because there's only 2 boxes. Let's go ahead and fire up manager 2, as manager 1 is busy. And once you start the box, you can either view it through console in your web browser, or you can use a separate utility. The one I use is called Virt Manager, and you can also log into the VMs that way. We'll log in as production manager. Now that we're logged in as production manager, we'll go ahead and look at his file sharing on the server. And this is using SFTP. The password that we just used to log into the server to see that his shares was not his actual password that's on the server. That was a keychain password for this local desktop. The administrator account came in earlier and linked his server password to this keychain password, and that gives him access to the manager folders, because production manager is a manager, and his team folder, production, because he's part of the production team. Now once you've logged in during a session, it keeps your folders open and lets you easily get back to them for the rest of the session, so you don't have to continuously put in your password. Now being able to get to things is good, but we also want users not to be able to get to certain things. For instance, the password file in EDC. So if the production manager were to try to access this file, as you can see here, production manager is not sudo worthy, and the administrator, PROFX, will be getting a report on production manager's attempt to access this file. Now let's switch users over to the admin account and see how we set up some protection and maintenance for the desktop. We changed the password creation expiration, as well as the complexity and the length of the password. We also set up cron jobs to run updates and also record log files to a single text document for easier reading. And we'll take a look at that now. Now that we've logged in with the admin account, we can see that his share should still be available, and there it is on the server. This is the password. This is where you adjust the password settings. And here are some of the changes we made. We made the minimum length for when the users have to reset or required to reset their passwords. You have to be at least 8 characters long. And down here we have the complexity settings for those passwords. And then below that we have a setting that prevents the recycling of the same passwords, and it will look back to the past 5 passwords to make sure those are not used when the mandatory resetting of the passwords happens. And here is that mandatory resetting, where we set the days that the passwords will be usable. And then we have a cron job set up. And this cron job will update the machine, upgrade the machine, and also will write all of our necessary log files to an individual text document. Mentioned earlier, the web interface is only one way to control the virtualizations, the KVM virtualization. Virt Manager is another way, and it is my preferred way. The performance in the Virt Manager is much better. So let's say all 3 employees show up to work and need to access a desktop for their duties. Well, we can fire up all 3 of these desktops, and once we get them started, I'll take you through it. We can now log into all 3 desktops because they're all running, and we'll log into employee desktop 1 with production employee 1, and then we'll come over and log into desktop 2 with production employee 2, and then last but certainly not least, our sales employee 1 into employee desktop 3. I don't know if it comes through very well in the video, but the responsiveness in the Vert Manager is much better than it is through the web browser. But the web browser does come in handy if you need to do a quick task or manage things remotely. And here's the desktop for the employees. And of course, they have access to their files if they need them, the same way that the managers do. And there it is. And we're going to get out of full screen. And here is our employee desktop 2 logged in with production employee 2, and here is his production folder on the server. You can go over to employee desktop 1 logged into by production employee 1, and again he is connected to the same server folder as production employee 2. So as you can see here, we have 1, 2, 3 employee desktops running and 1 manager desktop running, and they all seem to be running fairly smoothly, in large part to KVM, which is very efficient virtualization software. Also, I am running the Lubuntu 32-bit version, and it only requires around half a gig of RAM to run well, and KVM allows us to give an upper limit. I gave it an upper limit of 2 gigs of RAM, so at any point if they need to spike, they can get a little more RAM to get the job done. So that's our build for the final. I hope you enjoyed it.